Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
Welcome. Great to have you with us. Kyle back today.
Yes, I am.
So, yes, the big move. Berhalter gone.
Yes, he is. Took him long enough. Took him, I don't know, a full extra coaching cycle for whatever reason to get rid of Berhalter. They were like, yeah, he's the best decision. He's the best person to hire last year, even though everyone said he should be gone. So someone could have a run-up with the Copa America and then get themselves into, well, the World Cup in 26.
Right.
They did not get rid of him. They hired him back. And then they're like, oh, yeah, no, now we're firing him after failing in the Copa America because, spoiler, we all knew it was going to happen. It's a great time, Steve.
Yeah.
It's a great time to be alive.
Yeah. So there you go. They made the big move, and now they have to find, among 335 million people, 20 guys that can play.
They have the guys to play. It's just who's going to coach them. The rumor on the street is that they're going to...
No, they don't have the guys to play. See, this is where the people are wrong. We don't. Pulisic's a great player. A couple other guys are really good. But we don't. If we did, okay, you would not be struggling with Panama, Uruguay, Trinidad and Tobago, and so forth. You would be struggling with Spain. You would be struggling with Brazil, Germany, okay, England. Okay, this is the equivalent to me of, we've got the personnel, but you're the ninth seed for the Stanley Cup playoffs. So what are you doing? Right? You can't win. Okay? I mean, the problem is they're strong. Okay? I know it's the number one sport in those countries. Okay, I got it. But we're a country of 335 million people. We do not have the best players out there. Right? And maybe because we don't have them in this country. I don't know. But you can't, we got the personnel as the coach. Wrong.
I'm not saying we have the personnel to win the World Cup. I'm saying we have personnel to compete.
No, they're struggling to beat Panama, Uruguay, Trinidad and Tobago. Okay? If they're struggling and can't get past Germany, okay, what do you need to get over the hump? Okay? They're struggling with lower level teams.
You're right.
That's the problem, okay? It's not just coaching, it's personnel. It's both.
Yeah.
And it's about time people in this country face facts. Okay? It's Copa America. Well, great, okay? So when you play Brazil, you didn't play Brazil. Okay. All right. So when you played Portugal, no. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's simple. It's like the team, hey, we got great, right? And guess what? The heck with trying to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Right? They can't beat the Carolina Panthers.
If I may here, the team that the U.S. has the players that should be able to at least put out some semblance of positivity. There should be something going forward. You have a good enough team to at least play average. They haven't played average. They don't have a coach that has fit the system with the players. He does not put the right players in the right position to succeed.
We have never played average.
I know.
Okay, that's the problem.
Yes.
Okay, and this team is doing exactly what all the other teams did.
Yes, because the coach that we have brought in time and time again does not do anything positive. The current rumor on the street is that the U.S. is trying to now get Jurgen Klopp, which has been a real long rumor for a while if they would want him to be their coach. I don't think he's going to take the job. He's too big. He just retired from Liverpool. He's not going to take a coaching job for at least a year or two. And if he is, he's going to go to one of the biggest teams in the world because he's one of the best coaches in the world. So no, we're not going to get Jurgen Klopp, even though we are trying to. We need to find someone who actually sees his team in a positive manner. Canada has Jesse Marsh, who we should have hired a year ago, but decided not to because he plays a style of soccer, style of football that is progressive and moves the ball forward and tries to win the game versus Berhalter, who does not do it. Or in the case of Berhalter, in the middle of the game is shouting to his team, the other game is 1-1. We don't need to win. No, don't tell your team that. Tell them you still need to go out there and win.
I'm not saying
that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life.
I'm not saying that he made massive mistakes. He did. But why does the same pattern keep happening year after year after year? This team right now is no different than the team 4 years ago. It's no different than the team 8 years ago. No different than 12 years ago. They can't be.
But that's the thing. This team is finally different. The difference is they're actually playing in leagues that matter.
In what way? I mean, I understand there's players playing in the Premier League. That's adorable. Okay.
Yes.
That's great. Yippee. Okay, get together, beat Panama.
Yes.
Okay, get together. Okay, if you're that good, okay.
They should be. The problem is we're not putting out the team that actually makes sense with the players in the position that makes sense.
I don't know.
England has this problem right now. They're starting Harry Kane up front, who does not make sense because he's not good right now. He's not playing well. And they barely win the game because they sub a dude on in the last minute of the game to win it.
But the bottom line is, okay, I can hear personnel, guess what? You're not winning. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Part of it the manager? Sure. But part of it's them.
That I can agree with. I'm just saying you can't just blame players. It's a two-way street.
I didn't just blame players. I said part of it's him, but over and over again. Okay? Again, the struggle is not to beat France. The struggle is trying to beat Panama? What? Again? The U.S. loses to teams that, based on population, they should not be losing to. And to be honest with you, they should not be competitive with the U.S.
Yeah.
Right? And guess what? They've been changing coaches. They've been changing. It's the same. Okay? We could talk how great the personnel is. Well, they damn well better start coming through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
okay.
I agree.
It seems like their guys seem to come through. Interesting. Uruguay, where I know it's the sport. The first World Cup was in Uruguay in 1930. The whole thing is the sport. But they don't have the same population this country does.
Mm-hmm.
They shouldn't be better.
Mm-mm. And this is where there has been a discussion for years. And I can remember the Taylor.
Can I add one more thing?
Mm-hmm.
We can talk system all you want, but a lot in soccer is winning your one-on-one battles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which one-on-one battles does the U.S. win?
None.
Right. That's up to them.
Yeah.
You can talk system all you want. You still have to win your one-on-one battle. And the U.S. doesn't win one-on-one battles because they've got some great players, but the problem is they don't have enough. And the reason and this is where it shows up, right? If you got, like, let's say 3 really terrific players, and I think the U.S. probably has at least 3 terrific players, you can mark them and make the other guys beat you, and the other guys aren't good enough.
Yeah. And what this is getting to, and it's been something that's been discussed for a while. And when Berhalter was brought in, he was brought in under the guise of, quote unquote, trying to change the way the U.S. looks at soccer. And that was what his goal was to do. He got nowhere near accomplishing it. He did everything to go the other direction, if anything. And Taylor Twellman went on a rant, I believe, in 2017 when we didn't qualify for the 2018 World Cup, I believe. And it was...
we didn't qualify for the 2018 World Cup. Oh,
and
thank goodness we're hosting this time.
And he had discussed with that World Cup, there is a systematic problem in soccer. And there is in the U.S. There is a systematic issue. You go across the pond to England, to Spain, to France, to any of these countries. What do? Soccer is a free thing. It is just a sport everyone can play. And
here you have to get into academies and things
and stuff.
Which is
and what's the problem with having to get into academies or paying for these travel leagues?
Money.
It costs a crazy amount of money.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden everyone is paying to go play. But you're going to have kids that are really good that respectfully cannot afford it. And all of a sudden these kids now cannot play the sport they want to play because of money. Because a coach is going to give preference to a player, if he's a high school coach, to the person he's seen play for him in this league, even though it's a player who's better than him elsewhere. I dealt with that in baseball. I got left off a team in baseball in high school because I was not a player who was on a travel team. I wish I was lying. I really do. And I got told, you weren't on the travel team. We're not going to bring you on to the team. We're going to bring the other kid on because he played for me before. So I was the unknown. They didn't take me. And that hurt. That really hurt. And now we're seeing it here, where there are players across the U.S. who very much so are good enough to play at the high school level and then go on to play in college or go play for the MLS or play in Europe or wherever else. But it's so far and few between because the players who can do it, they have to be able to afford it. And that should not be an entryway in. In England, you get signed to an academy. Same with Spain, other countries. You get signed to academies. Yeah. They're paying you. They're educating you and giving you these things. A 12-year-old and a 10-year-old. Lamine Yamal for Spain is 16. He was brought in as like a 6-year-old into Barcelona's academy because they were like, we see something in this kid. And now he's tearing it up for Spain, and he's one of the best young players in the world at 16 years old. And we can't do that here, even though we have 300 million people. It's infuriating because that is the crux of this, is we need to change how it works. But the problem is it will never change how it works because we like money. And it's never going to get fixed, and it's never going to change systematically. They won't be able to because everyone's going to be like, no, we don't need to change anything. We're still good enough, but we're not. And now we have the World Cup here in 2 years, and the U.S. is playing in Philadelphia on the 4th of July in their third World Cup match of that tournament, and we're going to lose, and it's going to be a disappointment. And we're going to go out in the group stages because we lost to Sweden, and it's going to be bad. Really, really bad. I don't know if Sweden's going to qualify, but if that happens, I'm a fortune teller. But at least the U.S. is not the only team going, of course, to the Olympics. Real fast, Penn Staters that are going to the Olympics, they just put out a post, the Penn State Nittany Lions social media. We have a bunch of people going to the Olympics. You have a fencer, one person for field hockey, a gymnast, a rugby player, 2 soccer players, 2 track and field, 4 volleyball, and 2 wrestling, including Aaron Brooks.
By the way, Steven Nedorosik is going to win a gold medal.
Yes, for gymnastics.
Yes.
So we've got a strong representative here from Happy Valley going over to Paris, and not making the trip for Paris, unsurprisingly, is Kawhi Leonard. Because, spoiler, he was not healthy enough to go, and who would have thought that? I don't know. Every person who saw him get picked for this team.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a joke. It's a joke. We all knew he shouldn't go. He clearly has never been healthy, at least in the last 4 years.
I don't mind if somebody gets picked for it and then he's now pulled out. So somebody else who can play
it's Derek White
and
is who they're
ends up earning
taking.
their spot is Derek White, and that's fine. Because I like what they've done with the team because they have formed a team. And I'll give you an example. Steve Kerr was not big on talking about lineups. Paired up Steph Curry with Drew Holiday last night.
Yeah.
In the win over Canada. They had 20,000 at T-Mobile to watch that. It's the 50th anniversary, by the way, of USA basketball. And I have friends that are actually there that were one of my friends joined USA basketball 47 years ago.
Not bad.
So, and he helped with the 92 Dream Team a lot. Not a little, a lot. And so they play great defensively, but Holiday and Curry just looked like a real tandem out there, which really helped. And the fact that Holiday's on the team tells me that they're thinking about the concept of team.
Yes.
Defense was the big part of how they played last night. Anthony Davis played a brilliant game at both ends of the floor, which really helped. But again, it is an all-star team in that they're some of the greatest players and names in the game on the team. Yet it is the concept of a team when, for example, Drew Holiday is in that starting group because he's not the star of all stars, but he's important to winning. With the Celtics, he was critical to winning. With the Bucks, he was critical to winning. Plays really good defense, right? Makes people around him better. Okay, so, but is he the star of stars? No, he's not Jalen Brunson, right? But he's the fit that they need. And Derek White
exact same.
Is then the next thing. Derek White's not the star of all stars. Now, was he a first-round pick? Yes. The San Antonio Spurs did pick him in the first round. But with the Celtics, he has flourished because he goes out there and he doesn't worry about playing his game. He worries about how the team plays its game. And by the way, what can I do? Maybe it's hey, look, maybe I've got the shot going tonight, so I'll take the shot. Okay, you're good. You're good. All right. So, in other words, they didn't sit there and put together a team that, wow. And I think Derek White's probably going to be paired in the backcourt with Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
And Edwards says, I'm the number one option. Over here in the back, you aren't.
He did score the most points yesterday. He did score 13.
He will be the number one option when others are not on the floor.
But that's the big thing, is this team, like, it was discussed before Kawhi left that with Kevin Durant having a calf strain, they've said it's not a problem. Right. He's taking time to recuperate. He's not playing in these games.
That's fine.
Oh, no, Durant's hurt. Who's going to step in his place? I don't know. Kawhi Leonard and then Drew Holiday. And, like, you go down the list and it's like, oh, you can play pretty much everyone everywhere.
Right.
Like, you've got LeBron who you can put at power forward or put at point guard if you really wanted to.
Right.
Like, you can move players around on this team pretty much positionlessly because outside of like a Bam Adebayo or a Steph Curry, there's not many players who can't play up or play down if they need to.
I mean, the U.S. team that Gregg Popovich had to kind of fight his way through it a little bit because with COVID and everything, it really, I mean, he was kind of dealt a hard hand, and they didn't fare well at this stage. And then when they got to the Olympic Games in Tokyo, they won.
Because Kevin Durant was just a monster.
Right, but at that point, you know, I mean, they'd all figured everything out, and Popovich did a really good job with them. Kerr's going to do a good job, but it just seems like this is a group that is taking it seriously and doesn't feel like they're entitled to anything.
And that's the thing. We've discussed it here on the show. You've brought it up of like the Dream Team and the Redeem Team, they bought in. They bought into being a team. And this U.S. 12-man roster has clearly bought in to being a team and playing team basketball versus I'm taking the shot, I'm taking the shot, I'm taking the shot. Yeah. Like everyone's brought up, Carmelo Anthony. I forget if it was 2012 or 08 or what Olympics it was. He was the sixth man on that team. And he put up 31 points in a game because he bought into being a team player, and they said, we're going to feed you. And we're going to get it. If someone's hot, they're feeding that person, and they're moving the ball around.
Let me see this about Carmelo Anthony. When he was in Denver and he was with the Knicks, he was expected to be the number one guy. Let's be honest about it. He wasn't good enough to carry the load. And the problem he had was the guys around him weren't good enough to help him. And because he's Carmelo Anthony and was the name, I think he caught more than he should have.
Oh, by
so
far.
When he got to the Olympic Games, his world record of playing in games, you know, whether it happens to be World Championships or the Olympic Games, is outstanding. Because guess what? He had people around him that were really, really good, and he was just allowed to be himself, and he didn't have to carry anything. When he had to carry it himself, he's not good enough to do that. Just not. But when you put others around him that can play, he then gets elevated by it. He doesn't get put down by it. He actually becomes a better player because now he's got better players around him, and he just has to play his game and mesh it with others, as opposed to, all right, here we go. I guess I'm the only guy left, and and because they aren't good enough. He never had teammates that were good enough.
No, he didn't. And Amari Stoudemire wasn't good enough.
But he needed.
Yeah.
But he's a guy that needs good teammates.
He needs someone around him. He can be a 1B,
right?
Or have a 1A with a 1B.
When he was at Syracuse and they won the national championship that one year. He had other players around him that were really good, including Jerry McNamara. So he didn't have to, like, okay, on my shoulders, people. Like, come down. He says, need a big bucket here. Oh, Jerry's wide open? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
And he could just be, when he's just allowed to be an important part of the group, he flourishes.
Yes.
When he's expected to be the guy, because he's head and shoulders above his teammates in talent, that's where he always struggled.
And that's where I think this team is going to, I think in a kind way, dominate, because they're not going to expect Joel Embiid, who had a rough game yesterday, to be the guy. They're not going to expect LeBron to have to be the guy. Steph Curry doesn't need to be the guy. Anthony Edwards doesn't need to be
No.
You're going down the list, and Jason Tatum isn't starting for this team, but he's going to play, and he doesn't have to be 1A. He can be Jason Tatum.
There will be a time when one of them gets hot, and at that moment they'll have to be the guy.
Yes.
Right? And it'll be middle of the third quarter of a game, and they're going to have and like, wow, I mean, Edwards is really going, or wow, Tatum's really going. Keep feeding him. Right? That's what good teams do.
Yeah.
And you don't just call plays to call plays. Yes. Right? You look around and go, all right, who's got it? Okay, we're going to run the same play because they can't stop the same play over and over and over again. And you can do that when you have great talent.
Yeah. And they're going to feed them. And let's say that happens. Jason Tatum gets hot. And on the floor with him is Steph and Drew Holiday and Anthony Davis and LeBron, let's say, for instance. And he's getting hot. He's scorching. He's going to start at some point to get doubled or get a new look. And he's going to pass out of it. And who's going to be there to take the pass? Oh, I don't know. Steph Curry. Oh, I don't know. LeBron James. Sure. Like, that is where this team is going to do really well. Which where they have in the past is when they've got players that they can feed, and Melo gets hot, they let him go. But as soon as he doesn't, okay, Steph's going to shoot the ball. And I don't know, Steph Curry is one of the best players in the NBA and one of the best all time. He's going to keep shooting the ball himself anyway. Like, this team should dominate. They took it to Canada yesterday.
Yeah, they did.
Canada is a team that we struggled with last time in the Olympics or in the World Cup last year. We struggled with them. They won pretty convincingly by 14 while struggling still. Yeah. The team struggled. This is a lot of their first times playing in the FIBA rules. Right. And Joel played terribly. He fouled out, I believe. They were down Kawhi. Like, they had less players. And it's their first full game together against Canada. And they took it to them. Yeah. And now they get Australia in Abu Dhabi, and then I believe Serbia and Jokic, which is going to be the big test because that's an actual good team in FIBA ball.
Exactly.
Like,
exactly. But see, here's the difference. Again, what's the difference between basketball and soccer? Okay.
Yeah.
The U.S. is not out there struggling. They're not going to struggle against, like, oh my goodness, they're struggling with pick said team.
Yeah.
Right? No. Okay. They're really good. See, again, like the U.S. plays Panama in basketball. Forget it.
Yeah.
Okay. Done. Gone. Okay. Okay. Now, when they get to play Serbia,
that's where it gets real dicey.
Or they get to play, I don't know, I assume Lithuania.
Lithuania is out of the World Cup or the Olympics. They did not qualify. I believe it was Puerto Rico beat them with Jose Alvarado.
Right. Now, Puerto Rico has a lot of U.S. players on the team. I mean,
Jose Alvarado is their star. He's their big guy.
It's a U.S. territory. But I remember one time Butch Lee played for Puerto Rico. Out of Marquette, it was like, okay.
Well, that was the thing with, I think it was the Bahamas team, was Eric Gordon, Buddy Hield, Klay Thompson, DeAndre Ayton, and then next year, a possible first overall pick, AJ Dybonsa, I believe. Like, a lot of these teams have NBA talent on them. Puerto Rico's got Jose Alvarado, who, spoiler, is real good. And there are players you're going to come up against, in FIBA ball especially, who are really good. That is the difference, is this game is different in the NBA versus in FIBA. And a lot of people don't get that. There's differences on how you can defend. There's differences on how it works. Also, the three-point line is a foot shorter, I believe. So Steph Curry is going to have a field day. It's an extra foot he's got to work with, which for him is going to, it can only be a positive thing for him.
Yes, and maybe. 1 year, the NBA made it an actual arc out on the floor where the distance was the same as the corners. It didn't change.
Yeah.
It didn't change much. It's just you still got to hit shots. Now I'm going to get to I saw this tweet yesterday.
Uh-oh. You saw a tweet?
Well, I mean, yeah, it wasn't, because a listener actually sent it to me. And
I'm intrigued to see what it is.
No, it's about the college football playoff.
Okay.
And this better not be true, or it then becomes a massive sham.
Okay, let's hear about
All
it.
right. Let's see. Where is it here? Brad sent this to me. The tweet is as follows, and this is from the new head of the College Football Playoff Committee, Executive Director Rich Clark, on the selection committee picking first-round home games.
Mm-hmm.
The criteria, as he feels, should be weather, hotel availability, ticket sales.
Repeat that?
Okay? Executive Director Rich Clark on the selection committee picking the first-round home games. Weather, hotel availability, ticket sales. No, Rich. Okay? It is, if you're seated 5 through 8, you're at home.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if it's a snowstorm in Madison or State College. Okay? Hotel availability, there's a 110,000 seat stadium here. There's plenty of hotels. You're fine.
Every
ticket sales, they average 110,000 fans a game here. Weather, I'm sorry. Okay? Okay, I saw that. That's wrong. Okay? It should be on record and who earned what seed. It doesn't matter. If LSU's got to get on a plane and go up and play in 10 below zero weather, they should have won more games.
Yeah. The NFL has games in Green Bay and in Buffalo played in the playoffs where it's literally negative and it's snowing.
Kansas City, Miami.
All of them.
Miami had to play in Kansas City in below zero conditions. That's the way it goes. Okay? Because why did Kansas City host that game? Because by their record, they earned it.
I didn't
say, you notice I don't use the word deserve.
Yeah, I know.
They earned it. Okay? So the teams that are 5 through 8 should earn 5 through 8 and home games. Right? You're going to tell Ohio State, okay, say they happen to be a team that's not. Same thing with them. What's this deal about weather? I don't understand that. Weather in December here is colder, but it's not the Arctic.
Also, is that going to mean that USC is, like, in UCLA are the only teams given a bump, or like Miami? That's like, if you say, oh, weather matters. So
it's nicer in Clemson? I was down at Clemson one time. One time it was late November, for goodness sakes. It was cold.
So you're penalizing Penn State, and you're penalizing Syracuse for being in snowy conditions.
Okay. Putting that part at the front, this makes no sense. There should be no caveat. There should be no conditions at all about who's 5 through 8. Zero, except through record and data points who earn the spots. After that, it doesn't matter if they have 2 hotels in town. It does not matter what the ticket sales should be. Okay, first of all, they're all power programs. What? Penn State can get 110,000 tickets sold. Oregon only has a 52,000 seat stadium. So let's go to Penn State and make Oregon go on the road. Well, what if Oregon's 11-1 and Penn State's 10-2? Okay. First of all, if you have a 100,000 seat stadium like Penn State does, you already have hotel availability.
Most of these schools are going to have hotel availability. I mean, unless you got a James Madison.
Penn State
that's it.
Penn State took commencement and moved it back one day, okay, to Sunday, which frees up the hotels around here to do it if they are hosting the game. I mean, heck with it. Just win the Big Ten, get a first-round bye, nobody cares. Right? I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
Okay? Because there isn't anybody on the schedule Penn State can't beat. So let's start with that. There is not anybody in the schedule Penn State can't beat. Now, they've got to go out and beat them.
But they could beat everyone.
But they can beat each team on that schedule. They are capable of it. Now the question is doing it, right? And that's why you play the games. But when he puts this out, weather, hotel availability, ticket sales, no. Absolutely not. Okay? Okay. You seed them based on what they've accomplished in the season. That's the only criteria.
Mm-hmm.
Your accomplishments are the single criterion to where you're seated in the playoff.
Yeah.
Not these factors. Oh,
That's
good.
absurd.
Let's go here. They have a dome stadium. No. Wrong. Okay. They're not playing these games in January. The games in January are all played at warm weather sites because it's the bowl games.
Yeah.
The championship game is indoors. I mean,
That's crazy. I'm
it makes
blown away.
Okay? I mean, what is wrong with you? You can't do that. Okay? To me, that's one of those where you know, guess what? On the other schools across the country, I'm calling this guy on the carpet. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? What are you doing? I mean, this comes up like next week. One of the interviews I'll have will be with Ryan Snyder. We talk about why the signing date is not moved up to the summertime, June 30th. I picked an arbitrary date, right? And we all know it's the SEC and the high school coaches in the South. And the two of us can't figure out why. Nobody can. Why should they be dictating tempo? Guess what? Okay? Your TV ratings with a little snow swirling around in Beaver Stadium with LSU here are going to be here. Here. Because it's going to look like football in December.
Yeah.
Rich. That's, I mean, I'm sorry. He needs to correct that statement in some way, shape, or form. If not, needs to be called on the carpet. You should never have those factors ever be factors in a championship playoff. Okay? In a championship playoff. This is not a preseason tournament. Okay, let's do a preseason tournament. Well, I could put conditions on it now in the preseason tournament. Well, you know, who do you determine in the preseason tournament as to where we're going to play? Well, weather's going to be part of it, and, you know, hotel availability, ticket sales. Okay, because that's the tournament. This is for the national championship. Okay, a school that has earned a home field should not lose the home field over weather, hotel availability, or ticket sales. Because guess what? Their performance put them 5 through 8. A school that is 9 through 12, that is in better weather, has better ticket sales and the whole thing, right? Better find a plane because it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
And believe me, it's a college football playoff game. You're going to tell me ticket sales are going to be an issue?
Ridiculous.
Ticket sales are not going to be an issue. This is the first time ever that a playoff game is going to be in home stadiums, and I'm telling you, regardless of where they are,
It's going to be sellouts.
and regardless of the weather, it's going to come through. The emotion's going to come right through the TV set because now everybody's there. Games with stakes. Right? Suddenly, out of nowhere, and I'd say this with all due respect, concession sales go down during the game. Why?
Because people are not leaving
people
their
are
seats.
watching the game.
And
Right?
also,
That's one thing I will never forget going to the World Series. Right? During the game, nobody got up. Okay? No, normally I go to a baseball game, you know, hey, everybody get up, okay, pass the peanuts down, the whole thing. Everybody's like, no, I don't want any peanuts, get out of here. Everybody was on the game. It's going to be the same thing here. On the game. And it doesn't matter whether it's 20 degrees or 60 degrees. Okay? Everybody, there's a lot of people out there that want to see at least one SEC team have to play a Northern playoff game. I'm talking like a lot of people in the country just want to see it. And they may go out there and perform great, and it doesn't really matter. Because guess what? When the better players go to the NFL, they're going to have to do it.
Yeah.
Right?
They're going to have to go to Green Bay.
I mean,
They're going
guess
to go to
what?
Buffalo.
I mean, Tua grew up in Hawaii. He played at Alabama. He played his playoff game below zero in Kansas City. It wasn't his best performance, but guess what? It's part of being a pro.
Yeah. What a time.
No, I mean, you see stuff
know,
like that,
crazy.
and you're like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah. Going to a similarly controversial, fun topic. The Bengals quarterback, Mr. Joe Burrow, recently went on a podcast, Pardon My Take, and he talked about what he would like to see the NFL schedule go to. I don't know if you saw this or not.
No.
So a lot of players have come out in recent days and talked about, like, if the NFL were to go to 18 games, which is inevitable at this point. We all know it's going to happen. Yeah. And people saying, oh, how dare they talk about it? Like, shush. It's going to happen. We know it is. So why not talk about it and give ideas now? Right. So he said if the NFL goes to 18 games, there should, of course, be 2 bye weeks, which makes sense. He suggested one of the byes should be around week 13 for the entire NFL. So that week, you make it Pro Bowl week. You put the Pro Bowl during it. It would boost ratings for the Pro Bowl. And also by adding a second bye week and an extra game, the Super Bowl would then fall on President's Day, which means you have a Monday off after the Super Bowl. What are your thoughts on Burrow's layout of the season? 2 bye weeks, so 1 bye week in the first, let's say 5 to 9, 5 to 10. Everyone gets a bye week, week 13 for the Pro Bowl, rest of the season, and then Super Bowl ends up being before President's Day, Monday off. Give me your thoughts. Give me your feelings, your emotions.
2 bye weeks makes sense, but not for the entire league.
Okay.
You have to keep the product out there in one form or another. So you just rotate through the bye weeks, but they should get 2. He is correct about 2, but not having everybody off. Pro Bowl is irrelevant. No, that does nothing. 0. I mean, it's already become a clown show anyway. And playing the Super Bowl President's Day weekend's fine.
Okay,
but you can't give the entire league off the week. You can't do that. You have to have you go to 18 games for a reason, to keep the product out there. Yeah. So in other words, 18 games with 2 bye weeks for teams means the product's out there 20 weeks.
Yeah.
Before the playoffs. Taking off 1 week to play the Pro Bowl. The Pro Bowl is nothing. It's 0. I don't need to see the players play. I have watched a second of it. I don't need to see players play flag football.
Yeah, you're right. It was an interesting point brought up, is all I'm going to say. I was intrigued by the...
Oh, I don't mind people having thoughts and opinions. Yeah. That's perfectly fine.
I enjoyed the thought of like making it similar to the NBA with their All-Star weekend and giving everyone a week off mid-season. Everyone's off the same week. It's Pro Bowl week, but it would be tough schedule-wise to do. So it all makes sense. But it was an interesting thought from him. Oh,
I don't mind him saying it, especially from a player's point of view. But he's right about having 2 bye weeks. You should have 2 of them.
You need to have 2. Yeah. If you don't have 2, it'd be really surprising.
It's the NFL. Hey, you had your off week. You're good.
Yeah.
But I think they should have 2. You just need to rotate them as to how you do it. Either that or you take. All right. You know what? This weekend, every team in the AFC is off.
Full side, like a division's off, or 2 divisions are off, or something.
I mean, the entire AFC is off this weekend, right? And then another time, the entire NFC is off the weekend. And then you do it again later. The entire NFC is off. The entire AFC is off. And that way you have 2 weekends where nobody's playing. In other words, where you at least have games going. It's just going to be all AFC games one weekend, all NFC games another weekend. I think you can do that in such a way where it keeps the product alive and moving.
Very true. But it'll be interesting to see what happens there because it's going to happen the next few years. They're going to go to 18 games. And
maybe they ought to determine whether weather and attendance and hotel availability would be great. In fact, let's play every game in Atlanta.
Oh, boy.
No, I'm sorry. Putting that out there, just right, it makes you want to say, you know what?
Yeah, I know.
That's wrong. Okay, so just another one of the. Where did he come up with that? Ticket sales. Okay, I don't care where you play the thing. Okay, it's going to, especially early in this process. It's going to sell out everywhere.
Yeah. It's going to sell.
You're going to have 4 sellouts on opening weekend because of the novelty of it.
Also, can you tell me a single college town where they would not sell out a playoff game? Can you tell me a single one that wouldn't sell out?
Yeah, Pittsburgh.
Oh boy.
You asked.
I did not expect that shot to be fired so quickly. I know Syracuse would sell out, which is saying something because we don't do well football-wise at all. But we would sell out. If there's a good team there, that's happening. In the Dome, big time.
No, it's only Penn State, Ohio State, Notre Dame, but somebody else there, then they're not going to sell out.
Yeah, sure. Whatever you say, Steve. Oh, what a time. I don't know if you've been paying attention to the home run derby in terms of who's been announced. Are you not a fan of the derby?
I could care less.
You don't want to watch? You don't watch Dolis Garcia, Teoscar Hernandez, Pete Alonso, Alec Boehm, Gunnar Henderson, Marcelo Zuna, Jose Ramirez, or Bobby Witt Jr. compete in the home run derby?
No.
I'll say it real fast. As someone who loved the derby as a kid, I mean, watching Josh Hamilton hit 30 some odd home runs off the back right wall in Yankee Stadium was incredible. But I will really fast.
Can I tell you about that night?
Yeah.
I actually was doing a Spikes game at Brooklyn that night.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm right.
You're nearby.
Okay, nearby. And before the game, geez, I must have talked. Boomer Esiason and I must have talked for about an hour.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't. But we didn't talk about what you think we would talk about. His mother is a top breeder of Newfoundlands. And so I asked him, I said, hey, by the way, Boomer, is your mother still raising Newfoundlands?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God. Well, so we got into that. Then we talked a little bit about Maryland, Penn State, and so forth. Well, now he starts hitting the home runs.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so I get to a commercial break. I yell, Boomer. I said, he's got 22. He goes, Steve Hamilton is 22? I says, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What? Right. So then go to the next half inning. Boomer looks over and goes, Steve, he got 30. Because the broadcast locations were right next to each other. And that was kind of a fun night, but we're going back and forth about that one.
But like watching that night, it was his number he got up to was 32 in the first 2 rounds. He got 28, and then he got 4, and then 3 in the finals. Right. That was why he lost to Morneau, because respectfully, his arms had given out. Because you hit 28 home runs in a round, everyone's gonna be tired. But watching that was the most fun I've had, and I loved that format. I don't get why.
Well, there was the 1999 All-Star game with McGuire and those guys at Fenway Park, and like launching it, but like over the wall.
That was what made it fun. Was just that you get 10 outs, hit the ball as many times as you want to, and I get it doesn't fit their time frame thing, but that was what made things fun. They're changing it up. The dunk contest changed it up like 10 times. It was like, we don't want to see the change. We want to see players hitting things a million miles to left field.
Do you want to know why the formats change up?
Let me hear.
It goes back to the words that you just used in the previous sentence. Time frame.
Yeah.
Right? Everything now has to fit television time.
Mm-hmm.
So they try to fit it into a show. This isn't a show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Guess what? If it ends a half hour early, put on a 30 for 30. Yeah. Who the hell cares?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everything should not be based around what television does. Television needs to be the invited guest that shows us what's going on. It's great.
Yeah.
Okay? When they start dictating the terms of time, and hey, we need to stretch this out to 2 hours, so now we need to have this kind of format.
Yeah.
Okay, you are now on the path to ruinization.
Mm-hmm. Like, they've brought the dunk contest back to some semblance of normalcy in terms of what we love to watch, which is if you miss it 3 times, that dunk is done for you, which is a fair thing to do.
That's fair.
And the home run derby should be, you get 10 outs, you're done.
Right.
Because respectfully, you're here to hit home runs. You don't hit home runs, you're out. It shouldn't be you have 5 minutes to hit them, because he was up bat for like half an hour.
That's fine.
Hamilton was up there for forever hitting home runs, and we all wanted to see him just keep hitting the ball. That was the thing, was like, can he hit the back right wall and deep right center field Yankee Stadium? And he did it like 4 times.
Right.
It's like 400 something feet. And it was like, oh my gosh, everyone's going crazy and bananas. And you don't get that if you change the format.
But they're changing the format, which is because it has to match a TV format.
Yeah.
And see, this is where, right? That's where it becomes wrong.
And
I'll give you a good one. In college basketball, there was one year where they decided let's crack down on, and I understood it completely.
Yeah.
As to what they were trying to do. They're trying to promote more freedom of movement in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So they called every foul. And the idea was people will then know what the rules are.
Mm-hmm.
They'll adapt, and the game will be better. The theory was absolutely correct.
Mm-hmm.
But they said that they would take the first 1,000 games and they would evaluate it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 1,000 games is not just the 363 teams in Division I. It includes Division II and Division III.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? This 1,000 games was about December 15th that year, right around there. And games were going 220, 225, 210, 215.
Yeah.
And they reverted back to the old rules.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Why?
The games need to fit into 2-hour windows.
Yeah. And that's what they're now doing.
And and for TV. Now, that makes sense because, to be honest with you, I don't think fans want to sit there for 215, 220 unless it's an overtime game.
Yeah.
Right? They expect basketball to be a 2-hour game. Now, have they finally reached a point, for example, with the rule they put in last year, or at least the point of emphasis last year that, hey, these are more blocks than charges.
Yeah.
The block charge rule change made the game better.
Mm-hmm. It's sped it up.
But Dick and I advocated for that for years. I mean, you listen to any broadcast we're doing, right? You've got to be able to, block charge. Most of these are, blocks.
Yeah.
Right? But it doesn't look as good, for the official. I advocated for a long time till they finally changed the rule. I said, Dick, the 5-second rule is ridiculous. I said, you have a 30-second shot clock. Who cares if a 5-second closely guarded rule? It's one less thing for the officials to officiate. All right? So they finally changed it. There is still a 5-second rule. If you can't stand there with me in your face and not dribble, if you do, it's 5 seconds.
Yes.
Okay?
But it's easier to call. You have to think about it less.
Well,
it's more straightforward.
You literally have to put the ball on the floor. You're fine. Okay? If you're just standing there, okay?
That's the thing. It's easy enough to officiate now. You don't have to think about it.
I mean, I still think it ought to be wiped out anyway. Who cares? It's a 30-second shot clock. You want to stand there. That's your business. Who cares? Right? But things like that. There's better movement, flow, shots, things like that than before. You do get into a game once in a while where you sit there and go, oh, they took 32 free throws. Jeez. But again, basketball, and that's why college basketball, men's college basketball, right now is the only segment of the sport that plays halves and not quarters. Women's basketball plays quarters, the NBA plays quarters, WNBA plays quarters, FIBA plays quarters, Olympics quarters, right? But not college basketball. College basketball plays halves with 4 timeouts in each half for media, under 16, under 12, under 8, under 4. They reduced the number of coaches' timeouts from 5 to 4, and you lose the first one at the end of the half no matter what. Okay? And they reduced essentially the number of timeouts you can have in the second half essentially from 4 to 3. Well, why is all this done? It's to speed up the game, but also so it fits into, voila, 2-hour television windows.
Yeah.
And that part makes sense. Extending something. See, that the difference is they're trying to shorten it up.
Versus extending it.
Okay, extending something because you needed to fit into a window is just. I mean, no offense. That is visual ignorance.
Yes. The changes this year, for those wondering at home, for the 2024 Home Run Derby, there's no more tournament style for the first round. It's going to be a free for all like it has been, where it's 4 players with most home runs get through to the next round. The tiebreakers are going to be determined by the longest home run hit, which I think is a fair tiebreaker to have. Okay, whatever. It's something minimal. And so the first 2 rounds, each hitter will have 3 minutes or 40 total pitches to rack up as many home runs as they can. They're granted 1 45-second timeout in there. They also get bonus time for a home run that's above 425 feet.
All right.
In the finals, it only grant hitters 2 minutes or 27 pitches, excluding bonus time. I have a lot of feelings on a lot of that. I think the timing thing is stupid. I think it should be any given amount of pitches. I think it just should be you can't take 6 pitches in a row off and not swing at one of them or something. Right. I know in the past, people took a pitch or two to find the zone. That was the thing. They take a pitch, find it, take a pitch, and then hit. And that's okay. But now you kind of can't do that. You got to be more tactical with it, I guess. The odds for this year's field, Pete Alonso is the overwhelming favorite at plus 300. Then Adolis Garcia at 400, Marcelo Zuna 425, then Gunnar Henderson, Bobby Witt Jr., and the long shots are Teoscar Hernandez, Jose Ramirez, then the long shot of Alec Boehm at plus 2,000. So we have Home Run Derby weekend is, of course, coming up because it's this Monday, I believe, is when the MLB All-Star Game is Tuesday, I think.
Yes,
so
it is.
It should be a Monday Home Run Derby, which will be fun because who doesn't love balls flying very, very, very far?
If you're gambling in the Home Run Derby or the All-Star Game, I strongly recommend you take a long look at the 800 number on the bottom of the ad.
Yes.
It's like betting on preseason NFL games.
Speaking of NFL, by the way.
Preseason NFL games. Like, what are you doing?
Oy vey. Speaking of NFL, the Titans just agreed to a deal with Jamal Adams. That just got announced today. So the 7-year vet is now going and making his way down to Tennessee, which will be an interesting fit.
Okay, this is another guy who came into the league with the Jets, was very, very good, but not as good as the world, right? I mean, I'm sitting there like going, okay, I think he's really good, but I'm not overwhelmed by him. I don't care. Again, I don't get enamored at all with PFF ratings. I don't get enamored at all with analytics and things like that. I get enamored with visuals. We sit there and go, okay, that sucker can play.
Yeah.
And look, Adams does some things really, really well. But when he went to Seattle, he actually played about the way I thought he would play.
Yeah.
Okay. Right? He's a big name, but
they put him on this pedestal with the likes of an Ed Reed or a Palomalu, and everyone's like, well, you can't do that. He's not even the same like stratosphere, not in the same solar system.
Well, but like Ed Reed and Troy Polamalu had long NFL careers and just a series of seasons of excellence over and over again. There are too many people that want to take somebody right out of the gate and say and anoint them
the next blank.
Okay? When it takes time to come up with that evaluation.
Yeah.
And people don't want to take the time. They want to do it now. Okay? You got to wait till when he gets to maybe 7-8 years into his career.
When he's in his 30s and he's in the league, then we'll talk.
To look at him and go, okay, well, I'll tell you, I see a lot of, he's right there. He could stand with Ed Reed and Troy Polamalu.
Yeah.
Right? Who, by the way, fought through injuries and kept playing all the time. I mean, superior players. I mean, man, when Reed played here in Beaver Stadium against Penn State, Jack and I were like, that dude is really good.
I will never forget watching.
Same thing with Polamalu. Polamalu played against Penn State, too.
I'll never forget watching the NFL 100 video of Peyton Manning talking about he was playing against Ed Reed, and he said, I knew where he was going to look, and I looked him off and knew he would follow where I was going to throw the ball to, and Ed Reed turned the way Peyton wanted him to and wheeled around and bolted and got a pick.
Yeah.
Like one of the most impressive plays you've ever seen.
Yes.
And only Ed Reed could do that.
Right. And Polamalu did things.
He timed the snap perfectly to jump over the line of scrimmage and sack the quarterback. It's impossible.
But Polamalu was a chess piece, was a positionless chess piece.
Yeah. And he knew where to put himself to have the most impact at all times.
Because you know what the two of them have? Great instincts. Ed Reed and Troy Polamalu, analytics people hate when you bring this up. They actually knew how to play.
Yeah.
Oh, no. You got to do it over here in the back. Like certain people know how to play. Just,
Yeah, that they do.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more players tomorrow and throughout the next few weeks here on Sports Talk with Steve Jones.
Thank you for listening to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, a 7 Mountain Media production. Come back at 11 every weekday for analysis of the latest happening in the sports landscape. From college football to European soccer, Steve and Kyle cover it all on Sports Talk with Steve Jones.